What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nolan TCG, and we are back here today with another deck profile, and it is for Anti-Dragoon Dragon Maid. So we took this one to locals last night, and we almost won the whole thing. We went 3-1 in the end. We ended up dropping the final round thanks to a very, very good Extrav, which was, yeah, a very good Extrav that just so happened to banish all three of our shears. So, spoilers, there is Extrav in this build. This is an Extrav build. But ultimately, we've just tried to play like as many just straight outs to Dragoon as possible. So Super Polys in the main, stuff like that. But we'll get into a profile for this one. But as always, before we do get started here, please do remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here. We're getting very close to 1,000 at this point. We're well into the 900s, so let's grind and hopefully we'll be there by the end of the month. So if you have anyone that watches the channel, or if you watch the channel and have anyone to recommend it to, please do recommend it to us. And yeah, hopefully we'll be at 1,000 by the end of the month. But let's get on into this one. Okay, starting us off, we have the main deck, and ultimately what we've tried to do is cut all of the effectively bad Dragon Maids out and make it as consistent as possible so that the Dragon Maids you're seeing are as powerful as possible. So we are playing 3 copies of Chamber. Just standard summon, search spell card, spell or trap card. Trap card does come up, so it is good. Next up, 3 copies of Kitchen. I didn't like Kitchen. So, like, I found when I was using the Kitchen, it was only good if I had a hand filled with other Dragon Maids. Like, if I had, like, a Nudyal or something like that. Not Nudyal, sorry, an Ernest. If I have them, then the Kitchen was incredible. If I didn't have them, the Kitchen was kind of bad. So, you could consider playing 2 Kitchen, but it did fix bad hands. Where they were all Dragon Maids, Kitchen was the card to fix it. Following that up, 3 copies of Parlor. The reason why I've upped this to 3 is just because you can use it to dump the spell card and then just bounce it back and make the fusion. You just want to make the fusion as quickly as you can, so this is the best card to do it in terms of just getting everything back to your hand. Next up, we are only playing 2 Nurse. Nurse is probably the second worst Dragon Maid at the moment. The Reborn effect is good when you're in the grind game and like you're ready to start spamming in standby phase, but seeing it in your opening hand turn 1 is not very good. This is the card I found that I discarded the most off Kitchen, because then I could like reborn it next turn in the standby phase and then kind of combo off there. But in the event where this is in your opening hand, you do not want to see more than one of it. It's just really bad. Then for the big boys, or for the big girls I guess, we've got 3 copies of Ernest, special summon from hand on discard as quick effect. Card's great. Then we are playing 3 copies of Tunic. I was iffy about playing this at first, and then I realized that this is a Dragoon out. Because it buffs anything by 2k, so you just have to have a big dragon, and you can just go over the top of the Dragoon, even if it has the negate buff. So, card is great. Then, for the final Dragon Maid, we are playing just 1 Lorpa. If this card was a quick effect, this card would be incredible. It's not a quick effect, so this card is iffy. I ultimately didn't use the quick effect, the hand effect all night. It was effectively just a beat stick that I was just summoning back to give me more names. Then for our hand trap, we are playing 3 copies of Ash. I wish this was a EU print, but it is an American unlim. So yeah, with 3 Ash rounds out the monster lineup. I didn't feel like I needed to play more than this in terms of monster hand traps, because we are playing Imperm later on. But yeah, this deck is expensive. If you're trying to build this deck on the cheap, you're not going to build this deck on the cheap, which is why I'm not going to like cut corners on like showing off cheaper options, because this deck is just very expensive to begin with. If you're playing Dragon Maids, you may as well go all out. Next up for the spells, we're playing 3 copies of Hospitality. The card is really, really good. I've cut the quick play. I've found that like the quick play just doesn't come up. Well, it does come up, but you're drawing too many Dragon Maid cards if you have the quick play. Instead, you just want this one, and the trap is incredible to do the same job, so it's great. 2 copies of Changeover. You only ever really need to see 1, and then you can just keep recurring it. In the event where 1 gets banished, I had 1 got banished last night off of Macabre. That was when the second one came in. Sorry. So then I just added that second one, kept playing, and eventually just grounded out my opponent. Then, next up, 3 copies of Extrav, because we're an Extrav build. The card is now cheap. So, if you need to get these, get them now. Next up, 3 copies of Super Poly. I was playing this because you can play... I've got targeting the extra deck to out the Dragoon board and to out, like, the standard end board for Mech Knights and Dragma. But, ultimately, I didn't activate this card all night long. the one time I saw it, I didn't have a card in hand and I didn't need to use it anyway. So I just kind of like set it as a bluff and then kept going on with my day. So card is really, really good and really powerful. I wouldn't cut it, but ultimately I just didn't see a need for it. Next up, this card is probably going to be at Switch for Droplets. I've got 1 Droplets, I just need to get a second. It's 3 Tactics Talents. The card came up once all night where I could actually activate it. I just found a lot of the time my opponents weren't really trying to interact with my Dragon Maids because they like would read them and be like, okay, he's going to do something crazy eventually. I'm sure this card will be good once people like start to try and actively stop you, but ultimately I found my opponents were holding their hand traps till too late and then I already had the advantage and there was no real need for the talents after that point. I was just using it as either like a peek in the hand or a draw 2, which in saying that, a draw 2 is good, but Droplets is probably better because it's just like a direct out to Dragoon. There was one point where I had this in my hand trying to bait the Dragoon, and then the Dragoon just never, they never activated it, and I was like, oh cool, I've gotten to the fusion, I'm just going to enter battle phase and kill you now. So, yeah, card's good. It just could be better with the Droplets, I feel. Next up, for the traps, we've got 3 copies of Tidying. This card got me out of so many grind games where every turn I'd just like, Reborn, so I'd use like Nurse, Reborn Parlor dump Tidying. And I was just grinding my way out by that, just protecting my board, or losing the board, having the Tidying, going Tidying, into Nurse, into Parlor, reset the game state. Like, it was great. I was able to like fusion summon every turn from that as well, because I'd then just like bounce one back to my hand with the fusion spell, and then just fusion summon again. Like, this card is amazing for that interaction itself. It's just so good. And then rounding out the main deck, we've got 3 copies of Imperm as your second primary hand trap. So, card's just kind of a staple at this point. Yes, it targets, but what can you do? Okay, next off we've got the extra deck, and which is the best card in the deck, and that is 3 copies of Shiu. Just Omni Negate that spins itself back. It's great. It did come up, if anyone knows the answer to this, I'm almost certain that you can't do this, when my opponent had Summon Limit, and I was like, I cannot use the negate effect because you have summon limit face up and this will cause another summon. So I just didn't use the negate effect. I'm almost certain that's the way that plays out. If it's not, comment down below please and tell me that I can play it a different way. Following that up, the 3 copies of House, the card you're summoning off the Shiu. In the game when I extraved away all of my Shius, I was kind of screwed and had to make this instead. This card is not good. Like, it's good, but it is so easy to stop. Like, Shiu is not, House is. There was like one time all night where my opponent, like I popped something with Shiu, with House, then they like entered the battle phase with a Purgatrio, and I was like, House effect again on another bounce, and they were like, it's not once per turn. No, this card is not once per turn. This will clear an entire board if you leave all the Dragon Maids there. That's the only instance that this card is good. I've just came up with a proxy there, haven't I? Oh well. But for the rest of it, we've got super poly targets. So we've got 2 copies of Starving Venom, 2 copies of Muddy Mud Dragon. One is for the Dragoon board with the Predator Plant, and the other is for the Mech Knight, not Mech Knight, the Invoked Dragma version. So like you just use the Macabre and the Ecclesia. Do that in standby phase so they can't summon the big one, Fleur de Lis. Yeah, so they just can't summon the Fleur de Lis. You just like lock them out of their board and you try and kill them then and there. Then, because we are playing against a lot of Dragonmore locals, just to make sure that we don't get chumped on, we're playing the Macabre and 2 Nova. Ultimately, like, we just don't want to not have this. If we get, like, someone could be like, oh, you're playing Dragon Maids, I'm just going to try and resolve this now. You don't want to let them do that, so you're playing the 2/2 for that. And then the 15th card is Hieratic Seal. The only time it ever comes up to make this that I would recommend is if you're in the situation where you can end on this. If you want to make this by itself, I found that it's just not good. So in this situation, you've linked 2 off to make the Shiu, the Hieratic, and you've got the Shiu as well. At that point, you use the Shiu to reborn, and then the Hieratic can turn itself into whatever you need. So like, that's the situation where it's really good. I found in most of those situations I had Nurse, which made it even better, where it was just like, this, standby phase, summon Nurse, summon Parlor dump, the trap. That was just how I grinded through a lot of my games, was if I could set up that board, it was great. And that will wrap us up here for the deck profile for this one. So I will keep playing this over the next couple of weeks, like on and off between playing this and whatever I'm mixing Dogmatica with. I've been mixing that with Zoo, which I might do a deck profile for. I'm just trying to turn a corner with it where I can only end up going 2-2 every locals, so we want to try and turn the corner and get better with that. But yeah, we'll continue to innovate on this. If you have any recommendations, as always, please do comment them down below. I'm sure, like, if anyone has any cute tech cards and stuff you can play in this. Kaijus are an option for the side. I don't really normally go through side, but like we play like Ice Dragon's Prison. This card's crazy. 3 of that, 2 of that, the Gamma package, and Nibiru's. So like, don't recommend any of those to go into the deck because I've already got those in the side deck. But yeah, if you have any main deck options that you want to comment them down below. Let people know what to play. I have said it earlier, but as always, please do remember to hit that subscribe button if you are new here because we're always happy to have new people to the channel. And as always, I've been Ben from Nolan TCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.